Ändå går upp en början, en ny värld komma fram. Jag kunde ringa dig igår, idag är det ingen som förstår. Så är livet, det är vanskligt för mig att få det vara sån. Hello and thank you for listening. My name is Viggo Kruger, and I have 25 years of experience as a music therapy in various child welfare settings. Today I work as an associate professor at the University of Bergen, where I can use my background as inspiration for both teaching and for researching. The song I was which I dared to sing for you is a song written by a young person who have participated in a music group called Come Closer. I will come back to that group later. But since the song was in Norwegian, I want to translate some of it to you so you can understand what it was about. One door is open, one is closed. A whole new world appears. I could call you yesterday. Today, no one understands. This is the way life is. Things are difficult for me. Why does it have to be this way? This song reminds us of which meaning music have for young people. As we know from many music therapy books and studies, music can be a way to convey important messages of life, such as feelings, states of minds, and as in this case, the sharing of complex emotions. Why does it have to be like this? In my speech, I want to, by the use of practical examples and reflections, share ideas and ways of thinking about music therapy in child welfare settings. The speech are inspired by the book I recently have been publishing on Barcelona. And thank you, Karen Brucia, for giving me the possibility to publish my first book in English. It was not very easy to write it in English, but I managed in the end. And hopefully someone will read it. One purpose of this spotlight speech is to contribute to an increased awareness among adults who work with children. And especially in relation to what is called the UN Convention on the Rights of the Children, from now on shortened to UNCRC. In my view, we can regard the UNCRC as a document both informing and guiding our practice. The UNCRC can be used to improve the quality of our practice. It can be used to educate children and adolescents, and it can be used to help children and adolescents take responsibility and help others. As such, by the use of UNCRC, children can be regarded both as rights holders and rights bearers. As we know from music therapy research, music therapy studies show that music is used by young people to communicate things that otherwise is impossible to talk about in words alone. Music provides a sense of belonging, but also a safe space for privacy. As such, music can be regarded a resource to both connect and disconnect from others. And this knowledge is important in child welfare work as children and adolescents are placed in near proximity of adults. Having the possibility to disconnect can therefore be of great significance. Some songs remind us of the good parts of life, while others bring back painful memories. Let's look at a fresh example. During Corona, many of us have used music to gather extra energy and comfort. According to numbers provided by Spotify, statistics show that the situation we are in has put its mark on people's choice of music. During Corona, people have been choosing more acoustic and less danceable songs than they usually do. And in addition, personal playlists are more linked to cooking and housework than under normal circumstances. People are also sharing personal playlists more than before. In England, the song You Never Walk Alone with Gary and the Pacemakers from 1963 has an increase of almost 150% if you look to streaming. Songs like Don't Stand So Close to Me by The Police and Everybody Hurts by R.E.M. has had an increase. Interestingly enough, these songs is about loneliness, isolation, things that we can associate with Corona. Why is this information important in our context? A recent study done by American researchers show that 52% of young persons living under care of the child welfare system have reported that Corona has given them negative impact on their mental health. 31% has lost access to academic or post-secondary educational supports, while 21% did not have access to personal support to ensure that their educational goals were disrupted. In other words, music may, for the young people, have been a resource in the managing of their own life situation. Back to my own experiences now. My professional life as a music therapist contains the story of Come Closer. A story that started in 2003 when I was employed in a child welfare organization. In 2003, the willingness to explore music therapy was very present. And one of the reasons was that the adults working there was very frustrated because they had to argue a lot with the young people. There was a lot of unsatisfied and angry meetings, and there were a need for a solution to this. On the other hand, many of the adults working there had a great interest in music, a factor that really helped in the establishing phase. The adult social workers back in 2003 contributed with playing, singing, and of course they were audiences when the young people gave concerts. Music became part of the agenda at interdisciplinary staff meeting, and music was discussed as a way to create a better dialogue with the children. Music was in fact seen as a vehicle in the realization of the UNCRC values. In order to grasp the meaning of the UNCRC, let's look at the following scenario. A teenager is playing guitar in a rock band. He has a guitar, an amp, and gear needed for playing. He has skills in music production software, and he knows how to handle beat-making pads. He has been attending guitar lessons since children's school and therefore knows some basic skills such as chords, riffs, and scales. In sum, this teenager is provided with the necessary material and immaterial resources needed to participate in a popular activity amongst young persons today, namely music. And as we know from research, participation in cultural activities such as music gives protection against unhealthy factors such as isolation, marginalization, and deprivations, factors that is very present during these corona times. The role of being a guitarist offers possibilities for standing out as someone cool, to be someone important and to get recognition from peers and from adults. The image of the teenager illustrates what the UNCRC may imply. In order to make good enough music therapy practices, we need to see various components of health and care work as reciprocal dependent, and not just to look at one component at a time. Our young musician could be an example of how a child-focused orientation might look like. A child-focused UNCRC-oriented system is recognizing children and young people as individuals with rights, including their right to participate in major decisions about them in line with their age and maturity. Central to a child-focused orientation is best interest of the child, Article 3. Article 3, implemented as guiding law in most countries, globally speaking, may be regarded an umbrella article, giving direction to all the other articles in the Convention. A child-focused orientation, embracing the best interest of the child, will try to incorporate the 3 Ps: provision, protection, and participation. The provision articles are about creating and guaranteeing access to certain goods and services in order to ensure children's healthy development, not only physically, but also emotionally, spiritually, and culturally. Protection articles are connected to protection aims to shield children from consequences of harmful decisions of others. The protection articles include protection from all forms of child abuse, neglect, exploitation, and cruelty, including the right to special protection in times of war, and even now, as we all go through the corona situation. Participation articles include the right to express views and feelings, the right to search, receive, and pass on information, the right to determine and practice their beliefs, and the right to create and participate in associations and peaceful assembly. These rights ensure freedom to have a say in matters affecting social, economic, religious, cultural, and political life. Even though the participatory rights are specified in the Convention and in most countries' laws, research show that implementing the participation rights is problematic, as illustrated by the following quote given by a young person participating in music therapy. When I first came into the child welfare institution, I lost my independence. The adults told me I was not old enough to think for myself or to make decisions concerning my own life situation. It was a very bad feeling, losing control over my own life. I think it's the worst I have ever experienced. I will never experience that again. As this quote illustrates, children are clearly a major source of information about what is happening to them and what they wish could happen. As this participant documents, the underlying image adults often have of children can act as a barrier to participation. When a child is seen as vulnerable and in need of protection, the child's opportunities to participate decreases. For children With child welfare experiences, music might be a resource in the process of replacing a stigmatizing identity with another more useful one. To not remain in potential negative roles, such as a child welfare user, requires support in identity construction work and, in particular, help to find alternative identities to choose from. Music therapy can be such an alternative and create arenas where children are supported in the way they create such alternative identities. We have research showing that. In conclusion, there is not a single way of growing up which is valid. There are multiple trajectories leading towards adulthood. As music therapists working in child welfare practices, we should embrace the multiplicity of childhoods without losing sight of what has been labeled the best interest of the child. In order to reach the best interest of the child, we need to have both and perspectives. By taking both and perspectives, we can recognize different kinds of childhoods and identities as valid in themselves, and at the same time be able to demand young people as regards the rules and norms of society. It is about taking into account that the child needs to be taken care of through participation in the community, and at the same time recognize that the same child might need support and guidance on its own way to adulthood. In sum, music therapy may be a way to create a platform for developing practices in child welfare settings that are in line with the values from the UNCRC, that is values operating in the intersecting areas of provision, protection, and participation. Thank you.